Good evening and welcome to StonesCast episode 93. StonesCast sponsored by Rolf East Estate Agents, and I'm your host tonight, Adam Hills. We've got a lot of reflection of a busy period and frustrating few days, and we look ahead to what is going to be a action-packed and games coming thick and fast February with a visit of York City starting on Saturday. To assist me, I've got a star-studded panel joining me. So in no particular order, I'm going to welcome Mr. David Leach. Dave, how are you, sir?
Very well, thank you. Good evening.
You dried out from the rain in Altrincham last night?
I think drying out from the rain and probably drying out full stop, because we had quite a few hours there enjoying ourselves. So, yes.
Good place to do it. Good place to do it. And also at Alty last night, Paul Cooke. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, mate.
Good stuff. And making his, I think, long-awaited StonesCast debut, I'd like to welcome Mr. Adam Atticman Williams.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
I'm very good here up in the Isle of Skye. Lovely, been lovely and sunny and dry for the last few weeks, unlike down south, I hear. So,
I don't show
my
off.
first appearance on here. I mean, I've got a face for radio and a voice for print. So, let's try and do our best from now on.
Nice. I'm amazed it's taken, what was it, best part, I think 4 years we've been doing StonesCast now, and I'm amazed it's taken this long to get you on. But I've got the privilege of hosting you tonight, and as is the tradition with our debutants, our newbies, we obviously asked them to give us a little bit of their background and how they came about supporting Stones. And having known you for 25 years and all that, there's some fascinating tales in there, some of which you may or may not think appropriate to share, but I'll leave that to you. So tell us about you, mate.
Well, you're certainly right. I mean, there's a few incidents down the years where, let's say, a little bit of excitement's got to me that I won't be elaborating into too much. However, let's say my Wealdstone journey started actually about 40 years ago to this day, where I started becoming a regular. 1986, I started coming by myself. I think I was a 12-year-old lad, a few lads from school, from Elm Grove School. Started going to Wealdstone games, so I started tagging along with them. Up till then, I've been to the odd game the season before the double. During the double season, my dad used to take me to games, just the odd big game here and there. I must admit, I wasn't really that into football as a kid. I was sort of more into playing my train set and playing with Action Man and all that kind of thing that a 10, 11-year-old kid used to do back in the 1980s. But yeah, I started becoming very regular, and sort of 1987, I'd grown up with the likes of, Cordice, Bojet, Wainwright, some great players who went on to win the double. But all of a sudden, the cast started changing, and we had the likes of Mike Pittaway and Hughie Dowd to admire on a Saturday afternoon. That season, where I became very regular, I think I went to every home game, 87, 88. So, the decline started with my arrival, you could argue. We had a terrible team. 87, 88, we were pretty much second from bottom of the old Gola League, which is the National League all season. But one thing that kept me interested, it certainly wasn't the football, it was the banter, some of the humour, the magnificent atmosphere of the Elm to the End. My brother used to tag along with me sometimes. I think he was only 10 years old at the time. But the things you could get away with, that you couldn't get away with at home and at school, some of the choice language, which are sort of a teenage boy. At the time, it's all rather cool in front of your schoolmates. And it was just a great crack, being able to go to somewhere with all your lads from school and being part of a pack, Obviously, we got relegated at the end of that season. The next few seasons in the Southern League, we had a highly paid, underachieving team. Eventually, we left Lower Mead in 1991. I think it's one of the worst deals ever to go down in human history when we went to Watford. When you could write a book on that episode, couldn't you? But the soul of the club was still just about there. It was maybe starting to look a little bit on life support, but I think we took 300 or 400 with us. We were still taking 150 away. But at the end of that season, we said we might get out of the Southern League, but unfortunately, we went the wrong way. We got relegated. So the next season, into administration, the club in a lot of financial trouble. This was in 1992. Only the fans kept the club going. I mean, for those who not in the know, the club was literally hours from being put into liquidation, to cease playing activities. The efforts of a few fans, mentioned a few names, lots of people involved. Obviously, Neil Harvey arranged a walk to Fisher Athletics, sponsor walk, raised quite a few £1,000s. Activities like that, the Blue Ribbon as well, which we started getting some income from outside of the club. And the administrator saw it fit not to close the club down. So we carried on. There's a real, belligerent atmosphere amongst the 300 or so fans we were taking to Watford. And we carried on. We sort of limped along. The end of the season, we left for Yedding. This is in 1993. All right, a ground more suited to us, but 200 home fans probably every week. We're probably taking half our home support away. One memorable time at Yedding was we used to run a shuttle bus from the Civic Centre to Yedding and back. I think we got stuffed 5-2 by Buckingham, having been 2-0 up at half-time. As we sat on the bus to go back to Harrow, blessing Paul Rumans, a bit of a legend at the club, came on board basically and, said, you lot, we haven't got a pot to piss in. Can you please give the lads a bit of a break? I think we've given the lads a bit of a half send-off at the end of the game, but that's someone that remembers. I was fairly involved with the club when we went to Edgware, which was a really good time. I did the match day photography for a few seasons there, which I really enjoyed. Good times at Edgware. Paul Cooke can remember our time at Edgware well. I think it was he that actually named the stand the Kennel. Some fond memories of the Kennel. Fairly enjoyable 10 years there in spite of some of the mediocrity. Obviously, Northwood in 2005. Bob was on his knees a bit. Prince Edward was dying a bit of a death as far as we were concerned. But helping out the match day photography, some, again, great away trips. We're still taking 200 to some away games. Really good crack, kept us all interested. Went to obviously Ruislip 2008, got our own ground. And one thing that started on Saturday with these groundworks, which Don Cross and Mickey Kane took the initiative to help organise. I think after a couple of seasons, being a bit of a project manager at work, I decided to get involved myself, just to walk around with a clipboard, do a bit of planning, and make sure the lads were getting the jobs done, which they very much were. I think we were very privileged to have some of the lads on Saturday come and do some quite heavy work at times. Again, great memories from there. The 2012 trophy run and the win at Cambridge topped all that off in the FA Trophy. And then again, Gordon Bartlett left. I got involved with the match day photography once again. That took us on to the COVID season. I was one of the lucky ones when we obviously got promoted to the National League on points per game. So one of the lucky ones I was able to go to the games because official photographer, and along with John Taffel, who's doing a really good job, I must say, these days. I was able to go to the games up and down the country, in front of no fans. And obviously at the time, you might have realised I had a lovely lady with me for a lot of the games, Leslie from the Isle of Skye, who I've recently got engaged to. Wonders will never cease. But I'm obviously 600 miles from home now, living up in Skye with Leslie and enjoying life, but very much still a Wealdstone fan. I love following the club and look forward to many more successful years. So if you're still awake, apologies, went on a bit, but that's me.
Thank you, mate. And you still getting down to the Vale semi-regularly, right? I think I saw you.
Yes, I mean, I'm actually due down next weekend and the week after. I've got a couple of flights booked. So that'll be Sutton away and the trophy game at Kidderminster. So I'll be at those two. I'll also be at South End away at the end of the season. So that'll be a good, hopefully, lads' day out. I do miss that a bit about it, but it's always there. That's one thing. If you do move from the area, the club and the lads are always there. So, I'm looking forward to that.
And is there a as you said, your tenure as Sport and Wheelstone spans 40 years plus now. Is there a particular game or memory that stands out for you as kind of the pinnacle?
Yes, it's an odd one really, but to me it was Southend away at the end of 2002, and we took 400 fans to a big former EFL club. We beat them 1-0. It was a gorgeous sunny day. Everything was perfect about the day. It was the factors. I think we were playing in 4, 5, 6,000 people. To me, that was just the culmination of everything. Being able to beat a big club like that in a league match with 400 Wheelstone fans there, and just having a great social with everybody on Southend and Leon CC front. It was just a fantastic day, but capped off by a brilliant win. One of the high points, I think, of definitely the high point of my time, and I think maybe a few others as well.
Yeah, I remember Reece Brown's absolute worldie was about 15 years ago, wasn't it? It was a proper smash and grab. I know we said about some of the shenanigans over the years, but I'm going to sort of take a little trip down memory lane. For some of you, and then I'm talking to anyone who's listening here, you may or may not be aware that during that time that Attic's referring to, when the club was pretty much on its knees, a CD was created by a bunch of Wheelstone fans who are in bands and stuff, and on it is a song called Scum, which genuinely I think is actually an incredible song. And in it, Mr. Williams here becomes a pop star, and there's a line about a mighty footprint being left on a fence in Essex land. Want to just share a little bit there?
Absolutely. I think what happened was I had a bit of tightness in my hamstring, so I decided to do a few warm-ups by lashing out in mid-air. Unfortunately, some of my kicks landed on the fence. So that was the honest truth there. It had nothing to do with frustration or, anything to do with having a few drinks. I think I probably drove a few to the game, so I was stone cold sober. But I think that was, I think I was, just trying to limber up a little bit, and fortunately the fence cocked it. There's no ill intention there. Even though I think I did actually get a little bit more than a bit of a telling off afterwards, and I do remember it actually like it was yesterday. Good old days.
That sounds like a well-rehearsed line that you've rolled out there before. But no, thanks for joining us, mate, and many congratulations on the engagement.
Thank you.
But let's talk football and kind of cast back 24 hours really. We've got 3 games to kind of look back on. I think it probably makes sense to look at the last few days, because I think from my eyes I've watched 2 fairly decent performances on the whole. But we've walked away with just a single point from 2 sides who are out of form and sort of struggling towards the wrong end of the table. Dave, Paul, I know you were both at Eastleigh last night. Just share what last night looked like for you being on the terraces.
I was Altrincham to start with, not Eastleigh, but I'll give you that slip. It was wet. What you said is correct. It was frustrating. I think that's the word I'd use. I thought it was. I'd say it was probably a 0-0 game. It was two teams who appeared to struggle in front of goal. The goal we conceded again was a soft one. In the second phase of play. I think it was a corner. I think it was a corner we gave away cheaply. Corner came in, header kind of went up and then landed and just toe poked into the goal. Very frustrating. But it was a pattern to a lot of our games recently, and I think this one just didn't work out. The first 2/3 of the pitch, build up play, I thought we were very good. First half an hour we dominated the game. As soon as they scored, it kind of gave them a level of confidence, and they upped their game a bit from there. And we sat back a little bit more, but on the whole, the game kind of played out. Our build-up play was good. They just come into the edge of the box, wrong decisions, miss-hit shots. I mean, their keeper, I can't recall it. I can recall him making 2 saves. One in the first half was a sharp save from Sack. The second half, I think it was from Dixon Bonner, where he went low down to his left. Just regulation save, really, nothing too clever. But I was saying before that that's the first game that in 15 that Altrincham have had a clean sheet. So they always don't have the best defence, but we just didn't seem to trouble them. So I'll go back to my first point, that it was just a frustrating game of football. I enjoy going to Altrincham. I think it's a great place. Unfortunately, we seem to go there Tuesday night all the time, so we can't really enjoy the town itself. I mean, I drove last night, so up and down. So, yeah, can't enjoy the pubs, but I still enjoyed the ground, enjoy the people there. You know, it's unsegregated, which is unusual at this level. We have a good banter with our fans. We can mix with our fans. But, yeah, frustrating. That's all I'm going to say. We'll go further on about our striking issue, shall we say. But, missed opportunity there.
Dave, how was your evening in Alty?
Yeah, it was lovely. I was lucky enough to stay over, so we went up sort of early afternoon and had a bit of a tour of a few places to have a drink, and it was it was great. Really great town to go to. As people really friendly, as Paul just said. As for the game itself, I mean, just echo really what Paul's just said. I thought the first half hour, I just think our midfield at the moment looks just on it against, the opponents. I think the last two games I've watched, this one and the Eastleigh game, we just swamped that midfield. We're really getting on top of the opponents, but it just seems to be that, as Paul said, the final third. And it's like what Adam was referring to in that great game at Southend, where we had Reece Brown was able to conjure something out of nothing. Just don't seem to be able to do that at the moment. I mean, Saka-san, I think he looks the sort of player who really can create something, and I like seeing him in the team, and that's a real positive for me. But yeah, I think it's just that having that amount of possession and not capitalising on it must get frustrating for the players, because they're working so hard, to get that foothold and to get that control of the game, and not just able to get that goal that their hard work deserves. So, I think really, rather than being critical of the team, because I think they're working extremely hard, it's just up front, it just needs to work. Or, I noticed that Shaun Dark has been on the bench a couple of times. He's come on, he scored a goal against Forest Green. I mean, I'd maybe like to see him, get a bit of a run in the team, just a centre forward that they can look for, because I think at the moment there's a few players there who are a little bit similar, and are we looking for one particular player? Are we looking, are we just? It seems to come back and forward in the box. Whereas maybe if you've got a focal point, an actual striker, who you can look to, might change things a little bit. But I mean, I'm not absolutely certain of that. But it just feels to me that we're just missing something up front. Or playing people in or something. But no, I think the team worked really hard, and yeah, it was just frustrating really last night seeing that first half hour playing so well, and not getting anything out of it, and then the second half kind of just meandered a little bit. We didn't have the same control, but I didn't really think Altrincham had that much of a control of the game either. So I think it was definitely a missed opportunity to have got at least a point. I think.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Altrincham were a poor side and they were there to be got at. I also definitely agree with your point about Shaun. I was really disappointed that he didn't get on the pitch until whatever it was, 87 minutes or something. And again, you've used the term there, focal point. And I think that's what we really lack is, having someone who is just an out-and-out striker. I know Shaun's form this season has been very hit and miss, and I think his performances in the early part of the season when he was coming back from injury left something to be desired. But he is, for me, still that natural striker. I like Fella, for example, and he works hard, but he drops off so much. I sometimes feel he's going away from goal to get the ball rather than he is not a natural striker. He is a forward, and same to a certain degree with Obiero. And I do think there's a fluidity about them when they play, and I like that they're probably quite hard to mark and stuff. But I thought last night was crying out for Sean to just give us that.
Yeah, I think that just to add to that, I think the changes were quite late from what I can recall.
Yeah.
There was a point where you're right, where Sean hadn't been on long, and there was a long ball came up to him, and he controlled it with his chest, and he brought it down, and he got fouled, and we got a good position for a free kick. So it was a different way of playing, it was a bit more direct. So yeah, I'd probably agree with what you're saying there. He should have been brought on earlier.
Yeah. Ads, what was your view watching from there?
Well, I watched the game live on DAZN. Again, it's difficult to fault the effort. The overall performance was okay, but we came away empty-handed. And the problem is, we're like a gun with no bullets. We get into all these good situations. We just don't, we don't get enough efforts on target. My only beef with it is that somebody needs to take responsibility at some point in the team. Maybe that comes from the captaincy. Say to more attacking players, look, you need to start getting some shots in on goal. You need to start making things happening up there. Because as you said, there's no natural fault. We don't actually have an out-and-out centre forward in the team. That's been started. But you've got to maybe adapt a bit and look to make things happen. Very typical. I mean, the commentator, the Altrincham commentary, I thought they're actually very good and very complimentary towards us. They said, well, very tippy-tappy, some nice football, but when you get into the danger zone, just not enough happening there. And, the midfielder as well, the midfielder needs to take a bit more responsibility to get forward, get beyond get in front of the front too, get yourself into dangerous positions, because we are, we've lacked a decent centre forward all season. And I'm sure Sam Cox, if he was given £2,000 a week to get forward, would get a decent forward in. But in the current situation, that's just not possible. So it's a difficult situation for the management team at the moment. As far as the getting a centre forward in goes. Yeah,
you raise an interesting point actually about the midfield because obviously we lost Max gone to Kretschmar and he was a source of goals. But when you look at Musa, Kaji, Shea Spencer, Ajiman, none of those have really contributed. I know Musa's got a couple, but you haven't got someone in there that's going to get you 8-10 goals a season, and it does put quite a reliance on set pieces and stuff. But a hugely frustrating evening. And I think if you rewind then sort of 3 days before and the trip to Eastleigh, and it feels kind of very similar. Again, a very good first half performance was a little bit turgid, one pace, but a really good second half comeback, only to be undone by, a disaster in a game that, quite frankly, Eastleigh were not even second best in. I don't know, Ads, do you want to just maybe start us from your views of watching Eastleigh?
Well, yes, I mean, the angle I took of the Eastleigh game was that the first half, we've come off a 3-0 win at Forest Green Rovers. We came out, we were a little bit timid, I thought, a little bit submissive. We didn't really come out with any intensity or intention. And I think ultimately that cost us the win. We were 1-0 down at half time. To be honest with you, we could have either been 2 or 3-0 down. There's a couple of times Eastleigh got into dangerous positions. The ball went fizzing across the goal line a few times. We could have actually been out of the game at half time. But whatever Sam Cox said to the players at half time, had the desired effect because the second half we were absolutely excellent. We totally dominated the game. Deserved to go, deserved their 2-1 lead. The goal that we conceded at the end, I seem to remember our big centre half, was it Waller on loan, put it into Rosed, a bit of a shank, but he did what all defenders should do. He put it into Rosed in a dangerous position. I think they got the throw in. Their forward slightly fortuitously scuffed the ball into the ground and it bounced into the top corner of the net. So I don't think that player, if he does that 50 times again, he probably won't score that. But just the trajectory that the ball took, it would be unfortunate as far as we were concerned. But I think that was a bit unlucky. But, definitely a game that was 3 points was up for grabs and we didn't take it, I think. And I put it down to the first half where we shouldn't have been going in a goal down. We should have been at least level or at least a goal up against a team like Eastleigh.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you said there about Aaron Pierre, who got their leveller, because he, in my opinion, shouldn't have been on the pitch. He should have been off for a red card when, probably the right call to give a free kick because it was right on the line. But that is as clear and obvious denying a goal scoring opportunity as you're going to get, and that changed the game as well. So that was, I know obviously we scored from the free kick, but hugely frustrating that he was allowed to carry on and then gets the goal. And I have a slightly less favourable view of Waller's attempt to clear the ball, because it was a lazy shank that he should have just put upfield, and it's just invited pressure. Very, very frustrating. Paul, Dave?
Yeah, can go on. Yeah, I think I agree with you, Hillsy. When he saw that, he kind of scuffed it with his foot and it went out. I was thinking just kick it long, and it would have killed more time. It put him it went out for a dangerous throwing position, and yeah, the rest is history. Yeah, I mean, without going at hard lines, I don't like blaming officials and all that, but yeah, it was 100% a red card. And going back to the Altrincham game, arguably we should have had a penalty in the 96th minute as well. But we've got to make our own luck in this game. We can't always rely on the officials to get it right. Yeah, I don't think when we came. I agree. With what Adam said. The first half was turgid, but I think we just lined up wrong. I think I was listening to Sam's post-match comments, and he was saying he thought they'd be starting with a back five and a back four. I think we were trying to just come out slow from the back to bring them out, and they just didn't reciprocate. And it just became. He said, but what frustrated me from that, we didn't change it in flight. We kept doing it for the whole half, and how they changed at half time. I appreciate he's seen it and he's changed it, but we should have changed that earlier, and it might have put us a bit more on a front foot. That's exactly what we saw in the second half, because I totally agree. Second half, we absolutely dominated them. Really enjoyable second half. Shakuna, 2 brilliant goals. Certainly the free kick was excellent. Top bins from what I could see from behind the goal in that stand. Frustrating. Well, yeah, annoying. I wouldn't say frustrating. This was annoying because we threw away 2 points there, which we worked so hard to get. And literally 90, whatever it was, 4th minute. A really poor. Both goals were shocking. Their first goal, again, I think it was they'd hit the post and it kind of came back into the 6-yard box, and no one seemed to go for it. And then again, another silly toe poke, and it's in. I think you're right, Hills, what you said at the start. That's another poor side, a team struggling, should I say, that we're not taking advantage of. Now, points are massively important for us. Away points are like gold dust. We know that, I know it sounds silly saying that, but with 2 away games there, we should have had a lot more points. We've got to 1 point. We should have had 4 at least. And I don't think that's unfair to say that. And I think the team will probably feel the same, and the management will feel the same. Hopefully that'll spur them on. It's gone now. We're talking about it, obviously, but we can't wallow in that, and we've got to move on. The team have got to move on. But, learn from that and just play the 90 minutes. I mean, and change it when we need to. Don't just wait for half time.
It's said about Eastleigh being poor, and they went and turned over a 2-goal deficit and won 3-2 at Solihull last night. So they clearly got a bit of a boost from that late goal on Saturday. So, Dave, were you there Saturday?
No, I watched it in the clubhouse, and the one thing that I would add was the celebrations at the end when we thought we'd won 3-2 in the last minute, because we actually thought we didn't see the linesman. We couldn't see the linesman from where we were. And I think the whole place went up. We thought that there's quite a lot of people watching it in the clubhouse, and we thought we'd won it. So it wasn't until a few seconds later that it sort of emerged that they chalked it off. So yeah, I mean, I really can only just echo what Paul said about it. It was frustrating because I thought we were a lot better than Eastleigh, especially in that second half. The midfield just completely controlled the game, and Chakuna's superb. And it's not really an easy place for us. We don't tend to do that well there. We tend to,
I don't think we've won there.
No, never.
No, we've never won there.
I think we won there in the Ryman's League many years ago. I think when Richard Jolly was on the scene. I think it's in 2004, actually. I'm pretty sure they played at the same ground. It's a little bit less developed then, but I think that was the last time we actually beat Eastleigh, was in the Ryman's League many years ago.
And I mean, they've beaten us at home before. The game before we were trying to stay up, weren't we? And there was a home game we lost 1-0 at the end of the season. I just think that, I thought Wiltstone played really well on Saturday, and I think they were unlucky. It's the thing, isn't it? 2-1 going into the last few minutes. It's always going to be that opportunity, especially a home team. They're going to be attacking you, and they're going to be trying to get that equaliser. So, just a little bit unfortunate. I mean, I think it was probably more disappointed with Altrincham than I was at Eastleigh, because I thought that they played well, and 2-2 draw at Eastleigh's a respectable result. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, disappointing, but yeah, I was quite buoyed by the performance. I thought they played well. So yeah, I mean, I can't really add any more that hasn't been said already about that one. I can't think of anything that Paul hasn't said or Adam was said already. So yeah, just disappointing that goal got disallowed at the end, because that would have been amazing. And I think that, you know,
he was offside. He was offside.
Yeah.
You know, when it went in straight away, I could see the flag went up. You can see it went up. So there was no celebration, but he looked offside from behind the goal.
I just don't know why Dixon Bonner didn't just slide it to Hassan on his left.
100%.
And then Hassan would have had just the keeper to beat. Like, madness.
And Sappy had a great game at that point. He came on a sub and he really turned it around. He goes around that, didn't he? Yeah. Just something that I noticed, and I kind of shared this with a few in one of our chats yesterday, about the importance of the first goal for us in away games. And so including last night, where obviously at Altrincham we conceded the first goal, the only goal. We've conceded out of, that was our 16th away game of the season yesterday. And when we've conceded the first goal in 11 of those 16 away games. And our record after conceding the first goal is 0 wins, 4 draws, 7 defeats at what was about 0.35 points per game. And we've scored first 5 times against Woking, Scunthorpe, Tamworth, Brackley and Yeovil. And then it's 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss at 2 points per game. So that first goal is absolutely crucial for us in an away game. We're just not doing it very much. And we haven't scored the first goal in an away game since we won at Yeovil on the 4th of November.
Yeah. Very pertinent. Definitely.
How many of them have we conspired to help them score?
Well,
we
have to work to score our goals, don't we? In general, you know, the team has to work really hard to score our goals. We do tend to gift goals, you know, a little bit. Teams often there's unforced errors, and we do seem to make it a little bit easier at times. You know, it seems to be a repetition of this team, you know, recurring from either end of in our box and their box. I think that's where most of the problems have been throughout the season. You know, it's
absolutely. It's without wanting to sound like Robbie Savage in his Forest Green Brigade, like of all the stats in games, but there are so many. I think what we refer to as like how many points have been left behind when you consider like the Boston game at the start of the season, those home games with Eastleigh and Gateshead, the last 2 games. Like we have left so many points behind, and had we managed to get say those 4 points, we're back in the playoff shout. You know, distant, but you know we've got a presentable run of fixtures coming up after York, a lot of home games. So yeah, hugely frustrating.
For me, football's always about the fine margins. It always is. And yeah, you know, we could have won half of them games. We were saying how amazing we are. You know, it's literally such a. I think we've got the nucleus of a really good side. I really believe that. You know, we're not in mid-table by fluke. The table doesn't lie. We've got a good team there, or a nucleus of a good team. It's just the fine tuning, and that's a difficult bit. That's taking Sam and his team to get that right. It's difficult. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's also. I agree with you completely, because we've spoken on this cast so many times about the fine margins and being good in both boxes, and we have come so far from where we were last year, the last couple of years, in terms of, you know, we were always on the wrong side of that, but we are a much better team, as you say. We're not there by fluke. It's again going to that next level that's going to get us to be a, you know, top half. I don't know if I'm going to get my plus goal difference yet this season, but that'll be the next one.
Go on, just quickly. I think a slightly alarming stat that I've noticed: the last 10 league games, we've won 1, drawn 4, lost 5. That's 0.7 points per game. That's not great, but the good news is if we carried on that throughout the rest of the season, we've got 16 points. That'll take us to 47 points, which this year may be enough. It may not, it may be. We probably need to get that up to 1 point per game, probably, which I believe will take us to about 51, 52 points. You know, just a little bit of that last 10 league games, you know, statistics don't lie. And I think we do need to look at that. Now, that's been against a variety of teams, you know, some good teams, Bournemouth, etc. Also, you know, your Truro away, you know, Aldershot away. But I think, we probably need to start picking up definitely points per game now as the season, sort of climaxes.
Yeah, I think you're right. But of course, within the majority of that 10 games was that phase where we lost our mojo. We had those difficult run of away fixtures. And I think the tide's definitely turned, certainly in terms of the performance, if not the results kind of going alongside it. I'm actually just looking at, because there's games on tonight. And one of the big games at the bottom that we may be looking at is Sutton and Braintree. Braintree have just taken the lead. Sutton are down to 10 men, straight red card. So I'm assuming that's someone who won't be playing next Saturday. But yeah, you're right. I think we'll all be happier when we get 2 or 3 more wins and we don't have to look over our shoulders, especially given the way our season ends this year with Scunthorpe, Rochdale and Southend. I think that's 3 of the last 4, isn't it? So, we don't want to be going into those games desperate for points. Before that, of course, and now turning attentions away from the league, we had the, quite frankly, unbelievably brilliant performance in the 3-0 win at Forest Green, which, of course, has now taken us to the quarterfinals of the FA Trophy. And we'll talk about the draw in a minute. But that was a game I was at, and, I mean, what an incredible performance. From start to finish. And I think Robbie Savage even said in his interview after the game, it could have been 5 or 6. I did feel in that period, like I always felt that Forest Green they were dangerous. Obviously, they had a goal disallowed just after half time. And I think, had that stood, momentum of the game would have changed. But, we only killed that game off quite late on. I always felt if they got 1 at 2-0, that it could, they throw the kitchen sink at us. But 3-0, brilliant performance, great day out, great crowd, great atmosphere, and that ranks as one of the great away days. Who else was there? Paul, I think you were there, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there. Because when the draw came through, I was like, oh, it's an awful ground to get to as an away supporter if you're going by train, which I tend to do most of the time. So you go through it, but you go to Stroud and get a cab and all that. It's just a faff. So this time I decided to go by coach on Dave Reader's coach, which was I think it's only second time since we've been in the National League I've used it, and I've got 100% record when I've been on a coach. So I also get a free seat. But no, it was. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we look good, and I going into the game itself. I obviously was nervous because they're a good side. Let's be honest. Forest Green are a moneyed club. They've got riches of resources. We're always going to be up against it. So to take, I think, 200 away there was a good turnout. Made a lot of noise. So it was a good day out. I don't know. I think going into it, I said that I was a bit concerned, but they weren't, as you mentioned, rightly mentioned. There was their form hadn't been great to that point. I think they'd drawn 2, lost 1, or something like that. I can't remember now, just before then. So they're going in a little bit of a sticky patch. And I think we did hit them at the right time. But I think as a team, I thought we played really well. I thought Musa in the midfield, who's been probably our best midfielder recently, was excellent again. We controlled it. Great goal by Enzio, corner, great tidy head off the back post. Crowd went mad, and then I think it was Fella got the second, middle of second half, and then and Sean killed it right at the end, make it 3-0. And we were clearly the better team, and it surprised me. 3-0 away there really was, and look, just taking that one stat on its own, with 3-0 away when at Forest Green, can't be ignored. It was a brilliant performance all around the team, and that was Forest Green's first team. That was not a scratch side that they brought out for the cup. They wanted to win it. Robbie Savage has gone on record saying he wanted to get to Wembley, national coverage and all that. I thought it was a great performance, and I was hoping that was going off the back of the 2 1-0 wins we had previously. We were getting to a bit of a rhythm again. So we're finally getting back since the Grimsby defeat, trying to get a rhythm again. It was kind of excuse me, the last couple of games have kind of stifled that slightly, but hopefully it hasn't killed it, and we can pick up again York on Saturday, which is going to be a difficult one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dave, ads?
Yeah, unfortunately, I had an engagement on, and I couldn't go to the game. But I was following it on social media. Yeah, very very impressive result. It surprised me because I went to the home game in the league, and I thought they looked they're probably one of the best sides we played this season until it started raining heavily in the home league game. I thought they were excellent. I think that obviously I wasn't at the game, but it seems with the FA Trophy, it does seem quite pertinent that only one of the top 8 in the National League is left in it. And I know that, obviously they were playing their first team. I know that, that a lot of the clubs are taking it seriously, but it does seem more than a coincidence to me that those top 7 out of 8 aren't in the competition. How are they really approaching this competition? We can say that they want to win the game and they put a strong side out, but when these clubs are in going for the playoffs, and they've got to think about the extra games that the playoffs will entail, because there's probably going to be another 2 or 3 games, 4 games, and with Forest Green, you're looking at them and you're thinking, well, you're not going to go straight up. You're not, because York and Rochdale are doing so well. I just wonder in the back of their minds, and I don't want to take anything away from Wealdstone's performance, whether some of these clubs in the trophy are just not giving it the full, the same intensity as they would a league game. Obviously I wasn't at the game, but it sounds like we could have won 4 or 5-0, and that doesn't really happen at Forest Green. So, I don't know. It's just, I do wonder with some of the teams at the top of the National League, how seriously they're take the FA Trophy. That's my only thought on it, and it's not taking anything away from the performance because I wasn't there. But the fact that we could have won 4 or 5-0 at a top side like Forest Green seems just, I don't know. It's just really unusual. That's just my thought.
I don't know if you'd have seen the game on. I don't think it was on the Zone, was it, Adam?
No, I didn't see the game, unfortunately, but got a couple of questions really for those who did go. Firstly, did Forest Green actually press us? Did they play that high tempo pressing game? And secondly, do you think maybe because there wasn't that much pressure on us for that game, Forest Green were clear favourites, we played with a bit of freedom and no fear, maybe that came into the equation.
So did they press us?
I don't think they did. There was no high press, not consistent.
No, they didn't. I think what also helps is we are a side that likes to pass and move the ball, and the surface there is absolutely top notch. Obviously with sprinklers that come on before the game and all that kind of stuff. So, I think it really suited our style of play. And yes, we could have won it by 4 or 5, and their keeper made a couple of good saves. Obviously, Kaji missed that open goal after that wonderful flow and move. But let's not forget Dante made a couple of good saves. They had a goal disallowed. I don't think it was quite as one-sided as perhaps Robbie Savage's interview made it out to be. But we were very good. We controlled the game for large parts, kind of limited them to shots outside the box. And I know that we're talking about that out-and-out striker that we think we need. I think they're in the same boat there, because that Babalola is a big useless lump up front. And it just amazes me they've got someone like Christian Doidge, doesn't even get in their squad. They've shipped out Harry Cardwell on loan. Cairo Mitchell's on the bench. It's an embarrassment of riches that they've got. Nice problem for them to have. So that was Forest Green. Great away day into the last 8. Sorry, Dave?
Just very quickly on Forest Green, I saw that they published how much money they were spending. That went out on the on social media. There was a report on how much money they've been spending, and they've got a pretty huge budget for their team. So that was all I was going to add. Really, I don't want to break into what you were saying there, Adam. So.
Yeah, no.
One of their players was allegedly on £9,000 a week. I mean, allegedly, it's been on social media from an official of a club. So maybe it's true, maybe it isn't. But if that's the sort of money they're paying, they're they ought to be doing a bit better. I think.
Wasn't it a series of accounts over the last few years though? I remember as well. They, a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago, they were a League One side. But still, even at that level, that's frightening money. And talking of Forest Green, who are playing Rochdale tonight, Rochdale have just gone 2-1 up. So FA Trophy draw, 4 National League teams, 4 non-National League South and North teams, and the draw ended up with all of them National League against a non-National League team. Kidderminster away for us. I think we were all desperately hoping to avoid Southend, and I think all Southend fans were desperately hoping to avoid us. So we have avoided that. I think Woking we're all hoping to avoid, given their FA Trophy pedigree. Me personally, I was delighted. I think it's a winnable game. They're a solid side, but I don't think they score many, and I rate their ground as one of the best non-league grounds around. And I am very much looking forward to going back to Agborough, hopefully for a different result this time. But Paul, maybe I'll start with you. What was your reaction to the draw?
Yeah, I think you can't complain if you're drawn against a team from a division below. There is a gulf between the National League and the National League South and North. I think every time we play teams from that level, we can see that. Not to say they can't beat us. Of course they can. You can get upsets because cup football, anything can happen. It's who wants it more at the end of the day. But I think the only thing would have made it better if we'd have been drawn at home. I was desperate for a home draw. If I'd have had the perfect draw, it would have been a home draw against Southport. No, we didn't get that. But for me, it's as you say, we've got a chance, and that's all you can ask for. I mean, yeah, if you'd have given me that draw at the kickoff of Forest Green away, I would have taken it because I wasn't particularly confident going to Forest Green. So yeah, it's a draw we can win. It's going to be a big crowd there. Let's be honest, and I agree with you. It is a cracking ground, great pub by the railway station. We need to avenge the result from last time we was there, because that to this day haunts me. It was just an absolute, annoying me thinking about that. So I'd love to avenge that result when we lost 1-0 there in the 90th minute. But yeah, let's bring it on. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. That's it. You said you'll be there. What was your view, and what are you looking forward to? What are you expecting?
Very much so. Yes, I think it's a great draw for the club. I'd like to think we'll have at least 300 there. It's reasonably easy to get to by rail, and I think the club are running 2 coaches, so we should have a big away support there. I think, as Paul alluded to, there is a gulf in the divisions, but we will have to play well to win. They're going to be up for it. It's going to be a very hostile home crowd. I think it will be quite a big crowd there. They're going to be really pumped up for it. I think we just need to match them for intensity. If we do that, I think we'll win the game. As of what happened last time, it was in October 2023. How many of the current players that play for us now were actually at the club then? Probably 1 or 2, maybe. Jack Cooke, maybe.
I think.
But, it is a result and a performance and a general afternoon that has stuck with me for a long time. It's quite probably one of the most least enjoyable away days I've had in my life, to be honest with you. But I do think, if we can avenge that, get the players up for it, I think we'll do okay. And I think it could be a really good afternoon for the club.
Yeah. Dave?
Yeah, I think that, I was at that game as well. And, we were like literally 30 seconds away from a 0-0 draw that you'd have probably gone, oh, no, that, it wasn't a great performance, but it was a really poor performance. But, you can just imagine the really bizarre thing with football, that we'd have got a 0-0 draw. If they hadn't scored that last-minute goal, we'd have probably got a respectable round of applause off the pitch, and there would never have been any. It would just been one of those games. Oh, well, we got a point. Even though we probably thought we'd have got 3, but what I do remember of that day was they put the away end that you go in is terrific. It's got a really you can make a lot of noise in there, so I think we can get a really good atmosphere going as the away supporters. And it's a great ground. They have got a trophy pedigree. I seem to recall them playing in the final. I don't know if they've won it, but I think I was working there when I was young. I used to sell the T-shirts and programs at Wembley, and I'm pretty sure that Kidderminster were one of the teams who played in the trophy final. I can't remember if they won or not. So yeah, I think that it is a big. They're a big non-league club. I think they're one of those. Yeah, they get really good crowds when they get going. So yeah, I think it's going to be a cracking cup tie, and really looking forward to it. And yeah, I think it's going to be a brilliant atmosphere. There'll probably be quite a big crowd there, I would have thought.
From what I know of them, I think they're quite a robust side. I don't think they score many goals, but they also don't concede many goals. And I'll kind of come back to, I know I was referring to the league fixtures, but I think the first goal there will be crucial. I think it's going to be probably a low-scoring game, and whoever gets that first goal, I imagine, will go on and win the tie. Who knows? The other thing that's actually interesting about it is both clubs, between now and the 28th of February, which is 2 weekends away, are playing Saturday, Tuesday every game. So there's potentially going to be a few tired legs starting to creep in. I don't know what the depth of their squad is. Ours looks pretty good at the moment, but obviously injuries could get picked up and probably will get picked up along the way. So it's going to be, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great day. Fingers crossed, our name's in the hat for the semi-final come the end. And just as Attic referred to, there is a coach, possibly even two coaches, I think, running to Kidderminster. They depart 9:30 from Grosvenor Vale. Adults £30, under 16s £15, and they'll return straight after the game. So if you haven't already, you can book, I think, via the Supporters Club website or see on match day. Okay, so that's the FA Trophy. We'll all look forward to that. Let's now come back to the league. And as I say, we've got busy, very busy February. I think we've got another 5 games, starting with the visit of our former manager. I don't know if we've ever come up against 2 former managers consecutively in league games before. But yeah, Mr. Maynard will return to Grosvenor Vale for the first time in a competitive fixture as York come to town. York they were drawing tonight, falling further behind Rochdale as it stands. Just to start this, because I was amazed, and though I no longer partake in gambling, I was amazed to see that Wealdstone was 6-1 to win at home on Saturday, given our pretty decent home form over the tenure of the National League, quite frankly. But tricky fixture. Dave, maybe I'll start with you. Do you or will you be going into Saturday with, assuming the game's on, because the weather still isn't great, but let's assume it is. Do you go into Saturday with any expectations of getting anything? And if so, how do we go about doing that?
Right, I would say yes, and simply because York, if they don't win tonight, are under massive pressure to stay in the title race. I mean, if they draw tonight and Rochdale win, if it stays like that, I don't know what the scores are like, and I can't actually see them in front of me. But if it does stay like that, and then we get a point against them on Saturday, and Rochdale win again, I think they're out of the title race, and it's Rochdale's pretty much got it sewn up. So I think that they'll be coming into that game under a lot of pressure. And another factor is it is Stuart Maynard's old club that he's coming to, and those things they're funny sometimes, aren't they? I mean, we saw that last night with Neil Gibson. You could argue Altrincham didn't really deserve to win that game, but they won it, and he's come away with a win against his old club. So. It's. I think these little things do make it kind of interesting. And I mean, in terms of how we play, I mean, I can't see how we can approach the game any differently to any other. Really, we've just got to be as robust and as hardworking as we have been over the last few games. I mean, York have got quality, but I think it's more about them. If they get nervous or if they get a bit tentative because they think, "Oh, we're dropping behind the title race," I think that, it might be down to their attitude and how they are rather than us. If we're full on, I mean, if we play full on and they're off the pace, we could nick a point, But I mean, we could play full on, they could play their best game, and they'll beat us probably. But these funny things happen in games like that. So yeah, I've got a little bit of a thought that we might nick something on Saturday.
You're quite right, actually, because looking at the live league table, which at the moment is Rochdale winning, York are drawing. Rochdale are 4 points clear of York with 2 games in hand, and that's massive. The pressure really getting on them there. The other thing that might be interesting, of course, is we've had an extra 24 hours rest. Now, you could quite easily go professional club training full time. Yeah, but, that could be an interesting factor at play that we've just had that extra day's rest. Paul, that's it. What's your view Saturday?
Let me have a look. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'll jump in. I think. Listen, we know they can score goals. We need to be on it. We need to have probably one of the performances of our season if we're going to get something out of that game. We're at home. I do back us at home against most teams. York, from what I've seen of them when we was up there this year as well, seeing the way they play, they know where to back in. I think they've averaged 2 goals a game or something. So we can't be gifting them goals. If we do that, then we've lost. We keep it tight at the back. We get downhill second half towards the Buller. Who knows? Sometimes, as Dave said, football's a funny game, and some of these kind of quirks come back, and they kind of just write their own story. Listen, I'll always back the Stones. Well, hopefully we'll get something out of it, but it's going to be difficult because I really rate this York side.
Yeah. That's it.
Yes, I mean, we do have a habit of actually doing well against the better teams, especially at the Vale. We I think take the Boreham Wood reversal out of the equation. We've actually put up a decent fight against, Forest Green at home. We got a draw in the league. Carlisle at home, they were riding high at the time. I think we lost 1-0, but we pretty much matched them throughout the game. So you do fancy this side to pick up points against the better teams. If they go out there, again, we see it's about our intensity. If we go out with good intensity, we're a good physical team. We've got some big, strong lads out there. We can match them in that department. We can spoil teams. We're good spoilers when we go out there. We can win our 50-50 battles on that. And I think we go out there with no fear. I think we can nick something off of them, I expect us to get a draw personally. I'm not expecting a heavy defeat. I'm really not. We do tend to do okay in these types of games. Look, they'll have a big travelling support there. Did anyone know how many they're likely to bring? 500 to 600? Is that fair?
I think I've heard that they're close to selling out their allocation of 1,000. So
fair enough. So we'll have 1,000 fans there. They're probably very anxious. They want to get out of this division. They want to get back to the Football League. And, the way things are looking, there's a lot of pressure on them to do that. So, I'm expecting to get something out of the game, to be honest. Stuart Maynard's a savvy manager. Obviously, he's done very well there since he's got there. But, I do expect us to, personally, I'll have us for a draw. I think 6-1, though, Hillsy. I think that's worth a bet, personally. It's... You don't to get long odds at this level, do you? I'm not a betting man at all, but that's quite not bad odds considering what we know we're capable of at home.
Yeah. And if I recall, I think we've beaten them every time. I want to say every time. I think it's only twice, isn't it, that they've come to the Vale? 2-1 and 3-1, I think.
3-2. 3-2. The last minute winner on it, the 3-2. I think.
No, that was away though. I think it was 3-1 a couple of years ago. And then 2-1.
2-1 at the start of the season. It was the first game of the season, wasn't it?
2-1, that's the one. Yeah. That was a late goal.
At the end.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So we got a good record against them. I've got a sneaky suspicion we might get something Saturday. But who knows? And then following York, we've got the visit of Hartlepool, who are actually playing York at the moment, which will bring the return of Mr. Reid back to the Vale. Hartlepool still flirting around the playoffs. They're still going to be chasing in for that. And I think that's the first of 4 consecutive home Tuesday fixtures. I think it's Hartlepool, Brackley, Tamworth and Morecambe, I think it is in that order. All winnable on paper games. Again, I don't think we need to go into a huge amount of detail, but these Tuesday nights under the lights at the Vale, I think when we talk about where we're going to get those 16 odd points, like for me, though I think we actually have a better record on Saturdays at the Vale, but Tuesday nights feel getting these teams coming down from up north down to the Vale, it feels like that's the opportunity to get those wins. So, Hartlepool decent side, but another opportunity for 3 points.
I thought when we played them at their place, I went to that game and I thought we were terrific. And I thought it was one of the best games of the season. I think it was a really enjoyable game to watch. I thought they were good, we were good. And I just thought we matched up really well against them. And and funnily enough, I think we haven't really, they're another team that I don't think we've beaten. But over the years, we've had a lot of narrow, we had some 1-1 draws at home and a 4-4 draw at home when Sean Darker scored a hat-trick.
Yeah.
And we've had some really good games against Hartlepool, and I think that I think they'll respect us. And I just think it does seem a bit of a pattern that we tend to draw against them. So I just think that we matched up well against them. I thought at their place. So I feel optimistic. I don't think we're going to be outclassed, but it's hard to tell until the night, isn't it? Really, but looking forward to that one.
Absolutely. I mean, the Vale under lights, it's we've got some really good results, haven't we? Under lights, some really good. I think we beat Grimsby in our first proper season in the National League. That was a fantastic evening. I think they were top of the league at the time. We can surprise anybody at home. And, I do expect us to nick a win. You have to go into these games expecting something. It'll be tight. I think we'll have to keep a clean sheet because, as you know, we're not that great going forward at the moment. I do fancy us to nick a 1-0 win. I really do. But we'll have to be absolutely on it defensively. No gifting possession. We may have to be a little bit more direct. I mean, what sort of game do they play more of a pressing game, or are they a bit more of a football inside? I can't really remember actually when we played Hartlepool.
No, I don't think they're a particularly pressing side. I'm actually just watching, and they've just conceded. York have just gone 2-1 up. But they're a good side. They've got some good players. Obviously, with Alex Reid, they've got Adam Campbell, who was at Gateshead previously. He's a very good player. But they're quite I consider them to be quite an uninspiring side. I think they're quite functional. They've got a lot of sort of National League pedigree players who have been around for some time. But for me, they just lack something. They lack a bit of an X factor. I think it's a very presentable game on Tuesday night.
Just looking through the last result, they beat Rochdale away, which is a standout result. But other than that, it's kind of I was surprised to see them so high because they kind of snuck to the playoffs. I mean, I agree. I think when we played them at their place. We went 1-0 down, really scored, and then we equalised soon after them. But we matched each other. I think it's a winnable game, and I totally agree. Tuesday nights at the Vale, it's got to be our bread and butter. I was looking at the games we played before we were talking tonight, and we played through the whole league season. We played 16 away and 13 at home, so we're in a negative 3 game for home. And we've got to make them count. And most of them probably be on a Tuesday night throughout to the end of the season. We've got 4 coming up. And we've got to make that count. It's not for away teams. It's not. As much as we love the Vale, I'm sure away teams hate playing there. It's a tight ground. When the crowd gets going, we can make a difference as well. Absolutely. I that's one game. So York's going to be exceedingly difficult because I do rate them others, as I said. But then we've got Hartlepool, Sutton away, and Brackley at home. Really, 9 points. So I think we've got to make it count.
I think how many points has the league prediction got for survival this year? I mean, I know it was on the forum. It was 39 points. I mean, I think it was 39 odd points. I don't believe that for 1 second.
44, I reckon, 45, something like that.
Yeah. So in theory, 3 more wins could actually get us over the line where we can start relaxing a bit, maybe.
Yeah, Sutton. I'm just looking at the live league table at the moment, and obviously Sutton are losing to Braintree, which is actually leaving Sutton 3 points adrift off Braintree on 28 and 31 respectively. So I mean, Braintree in 20th are only 5 points behind us, but are what's that, like 10 places. So it is a little bit. I'm not concerned, but we do need to put points on the board just to keep everything at arm's length. And actually, maybe that leads us on to Sutton because, obviously Sutton came down from the Football League a couple of years ago, had a really disappointing season last year. Steve Morrison lost his job earlier in the season, and they've now got the guy that went, Chris Agata, that went from Worthing. And after seemingly having a good, I think, an initial honeymoon period there, they're still in the bottom four. For me, it seems sort of unfathomable that Sutton could go down, but the league table don't lie. So for me, it's another winnable game.
They're struggling without a plastic pitch.
Yeah.
I think that was a big factor in them going up. And I mean, I just remember, that. I know people don't like saying that, but it's an advantage, and they obviously couldn't play with it in the Football League, but I mean, I think a lot of teams over the years have had the best seasons in their history when they put a plastic pitch in, and because it just gives you a bit of an advantage. You get used to that surface and you're playing on it every week, and I think that I think that's got to be a factor that they got. I mean, I know they did well their first season in the Football League, but that kind of that does, I think it does give you a little bit of an advantage, and I don't know whether they're going to get one again, whether they'll put one in again, but I mean, we beat them 4-2 at our place, didn't we? And looked really good second half, gave them a bit of a run around, I think. These games, when they've got so much to fight for, it becomes a very difficult contest, and it's quite hard to predict. I mean, if they're falling adrift, then their spirits might be down. But if they're still on the edge of the relegation zone, it might be a much more difficult game. So it's hard to predict. In a couple of weeks, they could be in real trouble by the time we play them, or they might be right on the edge and still in the fight to stay up. So I'll be interesting to see. Yeah, it's a little way off, isn't it? It's a couple of weeks, isn't it? Be interesting to see where they are in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, I mean, Sutton United, they were always a team which we sort of aspired to be, didn't they? They were always sort of one step ahead of us in the Ryman League. And also they went up from the Conference South. They were always an organised, physical team. Maybe overachieved a bit by winning the league, I think it was the COVID season, was it 2021? I think that's when it promoted. Was that right?
Yes, you're right, yeah.
Yeah. I think they had, 2 or 3 in the EFL. Maybe a bit of a hangover from the relegation from that. I've no idea what the financial situation is there. But yeah, very much a game, I can't really see how it would go at the moment. I mean, like you said, Sutton could be in a lot of bother in 2 weeks' time, but we could ourselves maybe start looking over our shoulders a little bit, by then, which is why I think we need to get some points on the board in the next 2 games. I think we need to get at least 3 points on the board out of those 2 games against York and Hartlepool, because we don't want to be going to Sutton with 2 or 3 points maybe behind us, breathing down our necks a bit. It does become a little bit of a high tension game then.
I agree.
I do think we'll be okay. My gut feel is we'll be okay this season. We've got by without a centre forward. Now, if we did get to the position where things weren't looking so good, you'd like to think, well, I think an email from Jez would probably go around like it has done in the past, but the club would maybe have to just spend a bit, invest in the right areas, maybe to bring a centre forward in, even if it maybe costs the club a bit of money, to make sure we're the right side of the relegation zone come the end of the season, which I think we will be. I think we'll be sort of 14th, 15th, 16th. It's going to be very tight, though. I think, as you said earlier, there's not much of a gap, is there, between where we are and where the relegation zone is, and actually from us to the playoffs isn't huge. Very compressed mid-table. But yeah, a few more points on the board, please. And I think we can, enjoy the rest of the season. I don't want any dramas again like the last 2 seasons, please. I don't know if it's worth watching it when you're actually there, or where it's worth watching it on the television. It's certainly the cat went out the window a couple of times. It's me jumping up and screaming as well a few times. Raised a few eyebrows in Sleepy Store Terrace here. So hopefully by the time we get to Southend, it will be a nice, easy day out. Southend will be in the playoffs. We can just go there and enjoy the day, hopefully.
And we'll be readying ourselves for the FA Trophy final.
Absolutely.
We do, in theory, have, because we always look at the next games before the next cast, and there is Brackley in there as well, but that's 2.5 weeks away still, or whatever it is. But it's worth saying with Brackley, they have just lost their manager, Gavin Cowan, who went to, I think it was Shrewsbury in the Football League. And I think Gareth Dean, player who's been there for donkey's years, has taken over. I don't know whether that is a long-term thing or whether that's just while they're conducting their search. But yeah, they have changed managers, and they're another one of those sides who are just lurking outside the relegation zone.
They've just gone 1-0 down, actually, Hillsy. Halifax have just scored.
Oh, have they? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. We've been going for 70-odd minutes. I actually don't think I have a huge amount. When I say a huge amount, anything in AOB. I wanted to make sure I gave the Kidderminster coach a plug. We've done that. So, chaps, I will invite you to bring anything to the table.
Just keep the momentum going that we've built up from Forest Green, the 2 previous games. We almost kept going at Eastleigh. Didn't quite work out last night, but let's hope the team pick that up and we see it out this season, the next few games, and get some points on the board.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. I think I don't want to elaborate about it much, but you've got to presume we'll get the lease signed by the end of March, at which point that leaves a possibility of investment coming in as well. The outside investment from our potential new owner. Hopefully that all just gets done. And you never know, we may get to bring a player or 2 towards the end of the season, just to, hope we have a good, strong finish to the season. It's, but I do expect us to be, mid-table-ish or about, come the fat lady sings, maybe 16th to 14th. I think that'll be a good season overall. I think that's a fairly realistic prediction for the end of the season. And I think, at the start of the season, like many of you, I've probably had us down, to finish bottom, but I think a few of us have eaten our words since then, and I'm gladly eating my words. Absolutely. And, overall, Sam Cox's done an excellent job, and obviously got a bit to learn still, we'll probably admit that, but hopefully by this time next season, he's a more accomplished National League manager, and, again, with a bit of investment, could be pushing for the playoffs.
Absolutely. Grand. Chaps, Dave, that's it. Cookie, pleasure as always to chat. I won't see you Saturday because I'm going to Egypt with my kids, taking them to see the pyramid. So I'm missing the next few games, so I'll be watching on the zone. But I will be back for some games towards the end of Feb, and I will look forward to seeing you boys. And apart from that, up the Stones.
Up the Stones.
Up the Stones.